How you doing? All right, welcome. We just got started. We were talking about penguins juggling and Trinity Montessori. So, and collaboration. Yes. So, well, I wanted to talk today about collaboration, and the picture has to do with having a little bit of captain in you, and it'll be a little bit of a nautical theme tonight. I hope that's okay. I like to have themes around what I'm speaking about, and I will eventually explain the little blue penguins and get to that. So, as we get into this collaboration, and getting groups to collaborate, confronting the big fear. What's the big fear is you go on and you have a group that now you're in charge and you have to lead them. What's the big fear? Nobody's going to follow where you're going to go. You're not going to have any control. You're going to be completely out of control. And I think that is the big fear, and that's why it is with some trepidation people, okay, I'll do it. Did you step forward, or everybody else step back and you got volunteered for this job, or how did you end up in charge? So that's the big fear. My goal for tonight is to give you some tools in terms of how do you deal with coping with that big fear, and why is the group, or why do groups not work together? And then there's a follow-up session, so just to explain that, I see this as two big parts. And in the first presentation, the one we're doing now, I'm going to talk about the first big part of that. In the second presentation, I'll go a little bit into the second part, but these are things I usually take a lot more time to do. So with that understanding, I know you guys know that, and you guys live this all the time. So the big fear of, am I going to lose control of this group? So to talk about that, what I want to do is I want you to put you guys into a group. So each table, since we're in that habit of working in a group, what I want you guys to do is, as a team, this table and this table, the four tables, I want you to look at these and come up with as many right answers as possible within your own small team. And I want to encourage you to work together as a team. I can see you guys are already trying to figure them out. I've made the classic error. Give them something to look at and you've lost them. Okay, let me go back one slide. All right, so I want you to look at these, and I want to encourage you to work together as a team. Talk to each other, but not so loud that the other team eavesdrops and steals your answer. Because you know they cheat. Right? They cheat. How would you describe these pirates? Now, note that's not Johnny Depp. So I'm not talking about the Johnny Depp pirates and Pirates of the Caribbean. How would you describe the pirates of the 1600s? What kind of people were
they?
Thieves? They were certainly risk takers. Yeah. They were risking their lives if they got caught. Yeah. Opportunists. Yeah. Egocentric. Self-serving, maybe? Okay. Kind of nice people you like to go out and have a beer with? Ruthless. Nasty. Foul. Thieves. Right? Wouldn't want to be around those folks at all. No, not at all. That's what I thought. And maybe they were. But I was listening to NPR a few years ago. It's like the 2 times I've ever listened to NPR. In this 35 minutes so far. I was driving around Rochester after I dropped off probably one of the kids at school. And this guy was being interviewed. He'd written a book about pirates, buccaneers, and privateers. And there was a difference between them. The privateers had a letter from the king or queen, like the king or queen of England, that they could go mess up Portugal or Spain's shipping line. It was a cheap way for England or whatever the country was to have a navy. They didn't have to pay them anything, and they got like 10% of the take. So it was like a cheap way to do it. The buccaneers sometimes had that letter and sometimes didn't, and the pirates were just self-employed. They decided to go out on their own and take their chances and be entrepreneurial. But the author went on to say that one thing that they all shared in common, despite their differences, was this thing called the Brethren of the Coast. So Google is a wonderful thing. I drive right home, I sit down on the computer, I type in on Google, Brethren of the Coast, and sure enough, up comes this first hit, a piratey website. So I click on it, and it had MIDI music. So after I hit the mute button, because I didn't want to listen to that anymore, I started reading about this Brethren of the Coast. These people in the 1600s on these pirate ships had ground rules. Common ground rules in the Brethren of the Coast, which was that you had to sign your name that you were going to follow these to be a member of this crew. Common rules were things like no gambling with cards or dice for money while on board ship. No locks and keys allowed on board ship. No stealing from another member of this crew. No hitting or striking another member of this crew while on board ship. All arguments could be settled on shore with saber or pistol. In other words, I don't pay you to like each other. It's never going to be in your job description. You have a job to do. What are you two going to do to figure it out? And if you can't figure it out, one of you is going, let's just flip a coin. Because you're not getting your job done to standard. If it's not up to standard, that's a reason to dismiss. So what are you going to do to figure it out? No smoking on below decks. No staying up past 8 bells. If you're so inclined to drinking and partying, go upstairs. We got to get our sleep. We have a job to do. Keep your saber and pistol in good repair. No abandoning any member of this crew in battle. All members of the crew had one vote in affairs of the moment. That was their ground rule. So that meant unless they were attacking a ship or under attack, the captain had no more vote than the cabin boy. One vote on where they were going to go and what they were going to do. Wow! Now, I'm not suggesting that today. That freaks people out. But what a democratic way of doing it. They agreed to all of this while they were on shore, and they picked the captain out of their own ranks to go off. And if you broke one of these rules, there were consequences that were all explained out. If you broke this one, you'd be flogged. If you broke this one, you'd be marooned. If you broke this one, you'd be shot or keelhauled. You know what keelhauling is, right? You tie your hands and your ankles together and they drag you underneath the boat, kind of scrape off the barnacles. Now, one person actually is known to have lived through that. Only one. Happy camper. So there were consequences if you broke these. And if the captain decided, well, I like you, but I don't like you, and the captain decided to start picking favorites, it didn't take too many votes to have a new captain. So the captain had to, and was bound to these rules and these consequences. They even went so far as to have an insurance policy. If you lost a finger, a hand, a leg, an eye, and had to wear a patch and get a pair, it was explained how many pieces of aid or what you would be compensated for your loss. They even had an incentive plan. If you were up in the crow's nest or on deck and you spotted a ship that you ended up taking, you got an extra cut of the booty. They had it explained out that the captain got like 6 shares, the first officer 5, and all the way down to the captain boy getting a half share. It was all laid out before they ever left. They had ground rules. Isn't that amazing? What do you think of the pirates now? Is it a different picture? Because it sure became different for me. What I'd love to find out is if those idiots that are out there in the Indian Ocean right now trying to take down cruise ships, if they still do this. I don't know how I find that out. You got a way to figure that out. I'd love to know if they still do this. That would be amazing. Because this is a group of people that are self-serving, and they were smart enough. I'll say were, maybe they're still not. But they were smart enough to know that everybody's going to come in with their own agenda. And if we don't get this group together to say, here's how we work, it's not going to be successful. So here's the hard question. Where you guys work, who has ground rules? Who